Yeah, what do you think of the issue this week about whether or not we need to assess as a nation our complicitness in torture over the past several years? Do you think that it's urgent that we set up a separate committee, a separate panel to analyze this and to bring the perpetrators to justice and to figure out exactly what happened?
Get the perps. We wouldn't want to let the perps get away. You know, I think it's a profound question. I really do. I marvel at how our times have thrown up so many, gut level and just far-reaching conflicts and themes, because there's so much going on in the world, And President Obama in 100 days, it's so momentous. But this torture question. So I'm worried about it. I am not bloodthirsty. I'm not in a hurry.
Good word.
And I want to proceed with caution. It's not like I don't want to affirm if the Obama administration has made the decision. We don't torture. We had an election about that. We don't torture. That's our declared policy. I have no objection, none whatsoever. I would allow that it's a legitimate question. That is to say, the facts matter. That is to say, does it work? I actually think the answer to that question matters. And I don't know that we know that answer to that question. But in other words, I want to say the general attitude of dissatisfaction with the Bush administration's exercise of power for 8 years has been graphically and fervently expressed in the American political conversation.
It has.
He has been repudiated. Okay? Was he the worst president in the history of the United States? I don't know. I'm really not interested in pursuing that question. Alberto Gonzales failed as Attorney General. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever life he will have will be to some degree stigmatized and diminished in virtue of the negative assessment of the performance and office of that administration. So I think enough. I think, do you really want to institutionalize that conversation? You know what I mean? Have it over and over again, day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. You want to have a special prosecutor going on for 5 years about this? Do you really want to do that? You know
what? Yeah.
Please, let us at least reflect on whether or not going down there. And all these crusaders, all these people who run around saying the law is the law is the law is the law, I just kind of shrug. I kind of say, in this, and I'm sorry for filibustering, John, but I just let me express it. In this, I agree with the conservatives. If we had caught one of these guys, we would have executed him after having tried him in a court of law.
Yeah.
We would have extirpated his life. And in fact, we would have taken great pleasure in doing so. Hung by the neck until dead. Okay? So while I am in no way trying to endorse torture, please get off your high horse. We have a military apparatus that has the capacity and the practice of delivering death on a substantial scale to people whom we regard to be the enemies of the United States of America. We've been killing people for a long time. Please, get off your high horse. Did you really want to have an ethical discussion about how many dead bodies are worth one American body in the war on terror? The answer is over 100. So please, get off your high horse.
It's interesting. I would largely agree with you. There is a high horse issue. And frankly, the whole thing, I find myself aligned with the conservatives on this too, much to my surprise. I am rather repulsed by the whole thing because I sense an air of recreationality about it. I think that the real reason that this idea of going back and hanging high the people who were responsible for those things, and these were terrible things, I completely agree, but the idea that right now we need to work on that and that needs to be in our headlines is just based on a kind of a sandbox, kind of red meat, gut bucket, let's stick our finger up at the Bush administration again and again and again. And why it bothers me is because we have such problems. Like something else that is going on is that it seems like every 3 days lately. Some gunman runs into a nursing home or somebody's living room or some classroom and kills some people. We've got a gun problem, and that's real. And it seems to me that the typical person of the chattering classes lately, and various others, bloggers, are more excited by the notion of Dick Cheney being flailed than the idea of going after something where there isn't a person or personalities to sit around hating over glasses of wine. And I think it's a lack of imagination. Talk about Obama's 100 days. It seems that with all the things that we're facing, not only the financial issues, but the fact that he suggested that we try to mend the country and look ahead. And he has all of these domestic efforts, and we've got this air of 1965 going on, that when all of that is supposed to be going on, what interests all these people more is tisk-tisking over the ethics of John-yoo. It's a lack of imagination. I think that we should go for this issue later. And it's not necessarily that the people who are dealing with the other problems would have to take up the torture issue. Paul Krugman had a nice column where he was saying that it's not as if we couldn't do all these things at the same time. But the issue is what draws attention. And this issue of screaming about John-yoo and David Addington and Dick Cheney will attract more attention than the things that really, I think, are more urgent right now, such as this gun crisis, not to mention the financial crisis in our schools. So yeah, I'm very disappointed. I would like to see the headlines be about something other than that.